provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines on First at 9. Another rejection. President Maithripala Sirisena rejects the latest no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister.
If a no-confidence motion is defeated, the Cabinet and the Prime Minister ceases to exist. That is the law.
Adherence to process. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa issues a 12-point step-by-step process on how to bring a no-confidence motion. Choosing wisely. The March 12 movement urges public to be mindful of who they send to Parliament.
We urge the citizens to bring the capable people who can serve the country.
Stepping out of the dark. Ibrahim Mohammed Solih takes oath as the 6th President of the Maldives. Hanging in the balance. The second test match between Sri Lanka and England precariously placed with a day left.
බයික් එකක් ගත්තොත් ෆෝන් එකක්. ඔව් තෝරාගත් Yamaha බයික් මාදිලි සඳහා රුපියල් 40000ක් දක්වා වටිනා ස්මාර්ට් ෆෝන් එකක් නොමිලේ. ඉක්මන් කරන්න නොවැම්බර් 30 දක්වා පමණයි. කොන්දේසි සහිතයි. අමතන්න 0117 AMW තින් පමණයි.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now, Derana Media Network was honoured with the Gold Award for the Best Local Brand of the Year at Slim Brand Excellence Awards 2018 last evening. The humanitarian initiative of the Derana Media Network, Manusat Derana, was also felicitated with a Gold Award for being the Best Corporate Social Responsibility Brand of the Year.
The 17th edition of the Slim Brand Excellence Awards was held in Colombo last evening. TV Derana was awarded gold for being the best local brand of the year. It was also a significant moment as it was the first time in Sri Lankan history that a national television channel was felicitated with this award.
Derana, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the local brand of the year, gold, goes to Derana here at the Slim Brand Excellence Awards. Let's give them a big hand, everybody.
In the meantime, Manusat Derana, the humanitarian initiative of Derana, also won the Gold Award for Best Corporate Social Responsibility in 2018.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give Manusat Derana a big hand. A bagging gold here this evening at Slim Brand Excellence 2018.
Now, moving on to the political arena, parliamentarian Lakshman Yapa says that the president will not accept the no-confidence motion alleged to have passed in parliament yesterday, as it was not carried out in line with the president's instruction. He expressed these views to media last evening following meeting with the president and the ruling party. The MP went on to stress that the president will not in any way accept UMP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe as the Prime Minister. The Speaker of the House, Karu Jayasuriya, entered parliamentary chambers amidst tight security, where the first order of business was to suspend the standing orders. He later went on to adopt the no-confidence motion against Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and the ruling party, following which a vote taken by voice call.
I am ordering that ICE will have it.
Party leaders in the opposition, however, who met with the president on Thursday night pertaining to the no-confidence motion, were given instructions by the president to hold a vote while respecting standing orders and parliamentary norms. Issuing a media communique, the Speaker's office said that the no-confidence motion, which was presented by MP Anil Kumar Dissanayake and later seconded by MP Vijitha Herath, was passed in Parliament yesterday. The communique further went on to note that the list with signatures of 122 parliamentarians supporting the no-confidence motion was also sent to the President. Meanwhile, representatives from several political parties met with Speaker Karu Jayasuriya and held discussions at his residence at 6:30 last evening.
We inquired of the letter informing the President that the no-confidence motion was passed. The Speaker said that a letter has been sent to the President. We hope that a new Prime Minister will be appointed in place of this defunct government.
Meanwhile, representatives from the ruling party met with the President around 7 last evening at the Presidential Secretariat.
The President said that how they went about showing the majority in Parliament is wrong and he did not comply with the instructions given by him. The instructions were to adhere to standing orders, but that wasn't the case. A no-confidence motion cannot be tabled against the President in Parliament, and that clause was also not removed. Therefore, he said, today's vote is invalid and he will not accept it. We were asked to work towards showing our majority. The President also called for stability.
පිස්සු නැතුව දැන් UMP එක පාර ගන්න රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ අගමැති නෙවෙයිනේ මේ රටේ ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ අගමැතිකවට පත් කරයි කියලා රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ නෙවෙයි සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස දෙනා නෑ එහෙම එකක් නෑ අපේ බහුතරය තුල අපි හදා ගන්න ඒක බහුතරය නැහැනේ තාම ඒ කියන්නේ අයගොල්ලන්ට බහුතරය තියෙනවද ඒගොල්ලන් කියන්නේ තියනවා කියලා කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ
Where is it? His signatures being collected to convene Parliament a show of majority.
මේක බහුතරයක්ද ජනාධිපතිතුමා මොනවද උපදෙස් දුන්නේ නෑ ජනාධිපතිතුමා
The President clearly stated that he will in no way form a government with Ranil Wickremesinghe. He told everyone to join hands and work with discipline in Parliament and as per parliamentary norms.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා දෝෂාරෝපණයට ලක් කළා කියලා කියන ආරංචියක් තියෙනවා පුතුමාලාද මේ හැසිරිච්ච නෑ ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කරන්න තිබුණු වැඩේ දැන්
What he said was that we acted this way because there was no other choice. But he advised us to work peacefully going forward. Can a speaker call for a vote while having a mace near the doorway? The President instructed not to take a voice call on the vote, violating standing orders, but that too wasn't followed. The Speaker plunged the country into chaos. No matter who is appointed as Prime Minister, it will not be Ranil Wickremesinghe.
අගමැති පත් කරනකොට මොන හේතුව නිසාවත් රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ නැවත මේ රටේ අගමැති වෙන්නේ නැහැ. නායකතුමාට මම කතානායකතුමාගේ පුටුව ඉස්සරහා ඉඳ
I stood before the Speaker yesterday and asked him to adjourn Parliament. He said he will not. I then told him there is a chance that a couple of people might perish. The Speaker responded saying that it doesn't matter how many people die and I have it on record on my phone. I am keeping the record in case an investigation is launched.
මම ඒක සුරක්ෂිතව තියාගෙන ඉන්නේ.
President Maithripala Sirisena today instructed the heads of the state institution to continue their services without allowing the public sector to collapse. The head of state expressed these views during a special discussion held at the Presidential Secretariat.
Heads of state institutions, including secretaries of ministries, district secretaries and chief secretaries, met with President Maithripala Sirisena today and engaged in a special discussion.
What is most important is maintaining public services and taking care of the economy without letting it collapse. Therefore, I expect you to fulfill your duties, such as preparing annual accounts and other public services efficiently in the coming days. They should be done without failure because, if not, lack of decision-making now can give rise to issues in another 2-3 months' time. If tenders pertaining to fuel imports are not done properly, there could be a shortage of fuel in the country. If work in the Ministry of Health is not done properly, there could be a shortage of medicine. Therefore, take these instructions into consideration and continue the work as it should be done.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says it will not be easy to remove him from the position of premiership illegally or by force. The Premier made the point while addressing a religious event held in Veerakatiya last evening. In the meantime, today, issuing a document outlining the process the Parliament should adhere to when bringing a no-confidence motion in Parliament.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa's office issued a document outlining a 12-point step-by-step process the Parliament should adhere to when tabling a no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister. It says the procedure should start by the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister being handed over to the Speaker and a minimum of 20 parliamentarians should subscribe to it. Then the Speaker should verify the legality of such a motion through the Secretary-General of Parliament. As per the document, the Secretary-General of Parliament should then inform the Speaker that the motion is consistent with the standing orders. Motion being recorded in the order book is the fourth step in the outlined procedure. Subsequently, the relevant order book should be printed and distributed among all the members of Parliament on a Friday, and as the sixth step, the motion should be taken up for debate in the Parliament after 5 working days. The next step highlighted includes a list of procedures to be followed, which are A. Matters stated in the order book should be taken into consideration by the Committee on Parliamentary Business. B. The Committee on Parliamentary Business is headed by the Speaker himself, and a contingent of governing party MPs, including Leader of the House and the Chief Government Whip, should be included in the committee. C. Similarly, another contingent of MPs representing the opposition, including the Leader of the Opposition named by the opposition, should also be included. D. In addition, the Deputy Speaker and the Deputy Chairperson of committees are members of this committee. E. Accordingly, the priority of the government matters in the order book is decided by the Leader of the House. The next step described in the document is that once such a no-confidence motion is entered in the order book, most recent date for it to be tabled in Parliament should be agreed upon with the auspices of the Leader of the House and the governing party. The motion being entered into the agenda of the relevant day and it being announced that the motion will be taken up for debate on such date is the next step. Then the Committee on Parliamentary Business should decide on the duration to be allocated to the governing party and the opposition to debate the no-confidence motion. Subsequently, the debate should be conducted on the relevant date and a vote should be taken and the result should be announced. As the final step, the Hansard should be issued detailing the day's proceedings. The document ends stating that the Parliament is responsible in carrying out the above process according to the Constitution, standing orders, as well as parliamentary traditions and procedures. In the meantime, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa joined a religious event held in Kasagala Temple in Viraketi of Hambantota last night. There were 2 with knives during yesterday's incident. They should have taken legal action against them. When a complaint was lodged about the incident, the Speaker said not only knives, even swords can be brought into the Parliament. When we said that one could have died, he said yes, that could happen, and what's the issue? See how the Speaker of the Parliament, who is also the chairman of the Contributors Committee of the Ramanya sect, speak. He even insults his position. They are responsible for the issues that arose in Parliament and the country. Their agenda is disheartening to see. But we will continue with the government. We will not run away. If they pass a no-confidence motion, legally we are ready to hand over the government and leave. It will be difficult if they try to do it in a way which is insulting and by force. We won't make it easy for them. Only the President can take a decision about me. We won't stay until they chase us away. I should clearly say that as well.
Minister Buddha Sasana and Religious Affairs Udaya Gamampila highlights that the President will only accept the validity of the no-confidence motion under 3 conditions. He expressed these views at a media briefing organised by the government faction today, where Minister of Housing and Social Welfare Vimal Weerawansa once again questioned the presence of foreign envoys in the Parliament gallery during recent events.
When you witness a dangerous situation in a country's history where a speaker calls for a vote in the corner of the Parliament with the mace amidst tightened security, then there is no doubt that the United National Party will bring a federal constitution the same way.
Federal විවස්ථාවක් මේ ක්‍රමයටම එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයේ විසින් මතු යම් දවසකදී කිසි සැකයක් නැතුව සම්මත කරනවා.
Why do they keep tabling a no-confidence motion if they insist that there is no government, a prime minister or a cabinet? The problem which is faced here is that Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot carry out his agendas. This is why we saw ambassadors from Western nations monitoring us closely in Parliament. Therefore, our MPs will meet in Parliament on Monday morning, where we hope to present a set of proposals to resolve this situation. We expect that a solution will be found to this mess, especially by the judiciary. We believe that they too have a responsibility to think about this country's instability. The President has informed the United National Party to stop messing around and stop wasting his time by bringing him letters of the no-confidence motion. He said that he will only accept the validity of the no-confidence motion under 3 conditions. The first one is that the no-confidence motion is presented in accordance with the Constitution and standing orders. Secondly, that a vote be taken not by voice call, but by one of the 3 other methods in the standing orders, which are show of hands, electronic vote and by name. The third one is that he is not prepared to appoint Ranil Wickremesinghe owing to the destruction he has caused in the country, and that he cannot take part in such a sinful action once more.
United National Party insists that the Speaker's conduct during the passing of the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister yesterday was very much legitimate. Parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyalla made the insistence while addressing a media briefing held at Temple Trees today.
The conduct of the Speaker yesterday was 100% correct. There are two ways in which motions are tabled in Parliament. One is to bring a proposal and give 5 days to debate it. Another way is to suspend standing orders. See what happened that day? The court gave the ruling at 5 in the evening prohibiting the Parliament from being dissolved. That is a special event. That's what we did. Any proposal can be taken for debate if 20 parliamentarians are in favour. According to standing orders, a vote can be taken according to voice. I'm surprised about it. We met him the day before yesterday. He asked to bring the motion yesterday and that he instructed parliamentarians to behave themselves. He also said that he will take measures on those who misbehave. He conceded that he will accept a vote taken by voice.
Under Section 48, if a no-confidence motion is defeated, these are no-confidence motion of the government, so-called government. The cabinet and the Prime Minister ceases to exist. That is the law. Even if you win the no-confidence motion by 1 vote, the cabinet and the PM ceases to exist. Once the Prime Minister and the cabinet ceases to exist, then the President has to call the person who has the single largest party, form a government. That's the next step. First step is the government in so-called power. Does the so-called Prime Minister and the cabinet, do they have a majority in Parliament? If they don't have a majority in Parliament under Section 48(1), the cabinet and the Prime Minister ceases to exist. Then the President has to call upon the single largest party, Parliament, to form a government. At that point, if he doesn't have a majority, he can gather all these people and form a government. That's the next step. We have, definitely. We have.
The March 12 movement today urged the public to choose their public representatives wisely when voting them into Parliament. Executive Director of the election monitoring body, PAFREL, Rohan Hettiarachchi, made the request while addressing a media briefing held in Colombo today, saying quality candidates must be sent to Parliament.
Unfortunately, at the moment, the behavior of the parliamentarians, behavior of the leaders of the country and party leaders, it's really gone down. These people are not really fighting for the democracy in the country. This is a power struggle. We have noticed in the last 2 days, senior politicians also not able to control. Even they didn't try to control the situations. We urge the President and we urge the Speaker as well as all the parliamentarians to settle these problems within the legal framework and also according to the constitutions. We need to appreciate the citizens of the country. In the last 2 weeks, even though they engaged with the politics, there was no such a violent situation. So we urge our citizens to behave in the same manner in coming weeks as well. For the upcoming elections, we will have a huge campaign throughout the country. We don't care about who is coming to power. We will work with the citizens of the country to bring the capable people, qualified people, quality people who can serve the country in Parliament. We urge the citizens to seriously watch this situation and you can take proper decisions on upcoming elections.
Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna conducted several protest campaigns across the island today, demonstrating their displeasure over the Speaker's conduct. The protesters also demanded that a general election be held immediately.
A protest was held in Nitambu today demanding an election as soon as possible. Two other protests were staged in Warkapula and Burlas Gamua. A protest campaign was also conducted in Anuradhapura and Tamuttegama today against the Speaker's conduct. Meanwhile, several other protests were worked off in the areas of Jayala, Ratnapura and Pugoda. Given the political manifestations in the country, politicians had plenty to say on the recent events.
We're not afraid of an election. Asking for an election should be the slogan of the opposition. That was the scenario when we were in the opposition. But they don't want an election. For whom did these foreign envoys appear on behalf of? We should conduct an inquiry regarding the role of ambassadors. This is someone else's agenda. Upon your request, the President issued 5 Gazette notifications using his executive powers. I requested the President to not take action any further and give powers to the one who has the majority in Parliament. We question the public as to how we should react when the Speaker violates the Constitution and standing orders.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa is of the view that the biggest victory achieved by the country through the regime change is that it put an end to the separatist constitutional process. The former Defence Secretary made these remarks addressing a seminar of the organisation earlier in Avisawella today.
Some say that had Mahinda Rajapaksa waited for another 1.5 years, he could have become the Prime Minister with a 2/3 majority. I'm aware that Mahinda Rajapaksa could have done that, but the question is whether the country could have waited that long. Foreign forces made Ranil Wickremesinghe. Ambassadors applauded when the motion of no confidence was passed. The constitution they were going to bring was the most unfortunate thing in my point of view. It would have established federalism. The biggest gain this country made by toppling the former government is to stop it from being brought.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
The Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, highlights the importance of resolving the current political situation in the country. He expressed these sentiments addressing the 30th Annual Congress of the Postgraduate Institute of Agriculture at the University of Peradeniya recently.
There is no doubt, I think all of you know well, that when political uncertainty gets elevated, it really affects the economy through several channels. In fact, so it is very important that this situation is resolved as quickly as possible. Now, how one should resolve it, I mean, that's way above my pay grade, but we somehow need to resolve it. As you all know, the exchange rate has depreciated by about 13% this year. Part of it is domestically driven, part of it is exogenously, externally driven through developments in the world economy. So how has the central bank tried to manage this? We have essentially learned from past mistakes. So we don't try to defend a particular rate. We don't try to stop the exchange rate from adjusting because of current account imbalances. But we don't see any economic merit in having one-for-one adjustment of the exchange rate for capital outflow, because that really is got nothing to do with the competitiveness of the economy or endogenous economic factors. So we've been intervening in the market by selling reserves, our own reserves, to prevent a disorderly adjustment of the exchange rate. The political situation, reserves, and exchange rate, while they are undoubtedly difficult, they are manageable, provided we don't allow the situation to get worse by losing discipline, particularly on the fiscal side, or the central bank on the monetary side. If we let things get loose, particularly as the political cycle turns, then it will become much, much more difficult to manage this situation. There are some fiscal rules that need to be put in. The central bank has sent a concept paper to the finance ministry. I hope it will get up to cabinet eventually, so that the government will have to be very clear in terms of when it will breach these rules, and if it breaches these rules, other than for specific reasons given where these rules can be breached, that there would be penalties for the agencies involved. So you have to have teeth. We've had since independence a toxic combination of populist politics on the one hand and an entrenched entitlement culture among all of us as Sri Lankans on the other. And those two phenomena have fed off each other in a non-virtuous cycle which has dragged our country down. So we have to break that cycle and have a more disciplined approach to macroeconomic policymaking to make sure that we don't have this macroeconomic stress that we've had for 70 years, which has dragged the whole economy down.
Oil prices ended slightly firmer after volatile trading yesterday, supported by expectations that the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries would agree to cut output next month, though prices fell for the sixth straight week amid global oversupply concerns. OPEC kingpin Saudi Arabia is keen for the major producers to cut output by about 1.4 million barrels per day, around 1.5% of the global supply, to support the market. But other producers, including Russia, have been reluctant to agree to a cut. Brent settled up 14 cents at $66.76 a barrel. The global benchmark fell 4.6% in the week, the sixth consecutive decline. US crude settled unchanged at $56.46 a barrel after trading between $55.89 and $57.96. OPEC ministers met on the 6th of December in Vienna to decide on production policy for the next 6 months amid a growing surplus in world markets. US crude productions reached another record level week at 11.7 million barrels per day. The record output contributed the biggest weekly build in US crude stockpiles in nearly 2 years. After the thumping victory of the United Opposition in the Maldives presidential election in September, Ibrahim Mohamed Solih was sworn in as the sixth president of the Indian Ocean Archipelago today. The inauguration was also attended by numerous foreign delegates, with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi being a standout presence. It is Premier Modi's maiden visit to Malé as Prime Minister and is seen as an attempt to mend bilateral ties, which nosedived during the outgoing Abdullah Yameen government. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad insists that nations needed to re-evaluate globalization and economic integration because it is leaving some people behind, fueling inequality. Speaking at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation CEO Summit in Papua New Guinea today, Mahathir Mohamad called for more level playing field on trade between rich nations and the developing world.
The benefits of free and fair trade and economic integration have been ruptured, exemplified by Brexit and trade wars between major economies. The trade war between the US and China has amplified further the disruption to our trade and commerce. Developing nations, in an effort to catch up with a leading or developed nation, sometimes, if not always, end up losing, and sometimes even worse than that, before they started. Many times it is not because of our own doings, but we soldiered on, some falling on the wayside, picked ourselves up only to face new challenges that are generally churned up by others. First, the policy must ensure that technology is accessible and affordable to its citizens. Affordability and accessibility are key drivers in the widespread adoption of new technology. But the biggest challenge facing any country is to ensure that technology does not widen inequality.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Moving on to our weather forecast. Tomorrow, temperatures are to vary between 20 and 29 degrees Celsius, with the highest of 29 expected in Matra. Rainy conditions are expected to enhance over the island during next few days as fairly heavy showers, about 75 millimeters, may occur at some places in central, Sabaragamuwa and Uva provinces. Misty conditions may materialize in some areas of the central, Sabaragamuwa and western provinces during the mornings. There may also be temporary localized strong winds during thunder showers. Let's now take a look at your city-by-city forecast. time for you to get the latest from the world of entertainment with our segment 70 Seconds of Entertainment.
Grammy-winning crooner Michael Bublé was honoured with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday. The unveiling coincides with the release of his latest album, Love. Coming-of-age movie 8th Grade and family drama If Beale Street Could Talk scored Best Feature nominations yesterday for the Independent Spirit Awards, the annual honours given to Hollywood's lower-budget movies. The Best Female Lead category included nominations for Glenn Close for The Wife and Toni Collette for Hereditary. Joaquin Phoenix was named for Best Male Lead for his performance in You Were Never Really Here. Performers at the Latin Grammys in Las Vegas last Thursday had the audience on their feet as they belted out some of the biggest hits of the year. Uruguayan singer George Drexler won big at Latin Grammys, taking home a total of 3 awards, including the Latin Grammys for both Record and Song of the Year for his single Telefonia. One of the biggest names in Bollywood, Deepika Padukone, who also starred opposite Hollywood superstar Vin Diesel, married fellow actor Ranveer Singh in a star-studded ceremony in Lake Como, Italy. The wedding was a closely guarded affair and the couple reportedly asked guests to follow a strict no-photo policy.
And that is it for Mother Derana First at 9 for tonight. But before we go, we are taking you to the Queer village in province of Alsace in France. Located between the peaks of Vosges mountain and the plain of Alsace, Queer is a medieval town right in the heart of the Alsatian vineyards, classified among the most beautiful villages in France. Hope you enjoy the visuals and have a pleasant day.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.